It was early October 2022 when Meg and I finally arrived in Sweden. We came on a Thursday and Uppsala had their first home game of the season that weekend. First things first, after arriving in Uppsala from the airport, we had to go and find our flat. Now the club had been really good and sorted one out for us. Unfortunately, there'd been some water damage, so it wouldn't be ready for about a month while that was getting repaired. Luckily though, two of the other overseas guys playing for Uppsala that season, Jimmy and Harrison from Australia, really kindly said we could go and stay with them. So we lived with them for about the first month while our flat was sorted out. That evening I had my first training session with Uppsala, and obviously that was also the first time I got to meet the team in person. I wasn't actually too nervous before this first session. Mainly I was just excited to play volleyball with everyone and get a sense of, okay, what exactly is the level like? How do I fit in here? But mainly just excited to play volleyball. I said in my previous video, I went most of summer without really playing much volleyball at all, not sort of at the level I was hoping to play at. So then getting to play here, finally just getting some proper touches in at a high level, I was just so excited to play. Again, I've said in my previous videos, I want to be really honest about how I felt during this whole process and what everything was like. So here's another good example. I found it quite difficult when I first arrived, having come so late. And if you're not sure why I came so late, why I arrived in October when preseason starts in August, again, check out my previous video. But I did feel quite a lot like an outsider when I first turned up. Even though we had other foreigners in the team, as I say, 2 Australians and one of the guys actually from Britain, they'd all been there for a few months. And even though it's not really that long, and I let that get to my head way more than it should have done, I just felt like a little bit like the odd one out. In hindsight, what I think I should have done differently is just dive in head first to make way more of an effort to be super sociable and get to know everyone better. Not to say that I was antisocial, I wasn't. I think I was pretty normal, but I definitely could have done more to alleviate these feelings and just get super stuck in. And this is something that I'm going to have to learn to get used to. Playing pro means likely moving teams every season or every few seasons, so I'm going to have to get used to being the new kid on the block and not having it be such a big deal for me. That being said, everyone was really lovely and friendly, which helped loads. For example, as I said, we arrived on the Thursday and we had our first game on the Saturday. On the Friday, I got a text from one of my teammates, Albin, saying, hey, do you want to just go to the gym this morning? We can work out together and just chat a bit. And I appreciated that so much. It's such a small thing, but it went a really long way to make me feel appreciated and like part of the team and like I was going to fit in. I didn't start work until Monday, so these couple of days we had before then were really useful to sort ourselves out. Generally just get our bearings and work out where things were. But also the big thing was to find some bikes, because Uppsala is a really flat and really cycle-friendly city, which is great. We love cycling, so we need to find some bikes so we could get around everywhere. Anyway, so game day rolled around. We met several hours before the game as a team, so we had time to go through loads of things together. I really like this. I love the professionalism of it. So we had time to eat our lunch together, go for a walk, watch some footage to prepare, go through the tactics again, have like a full passing warm-up before we got too warmed up physically, then have the normal physical warm-up, and then time to play. Okay, so here we go. The first point of the first game of me playing in the Elite Series in Sweden. Although that being said, I'm actually on the bench at the minute. I was a little disappointed to not start, but to be fair, I'd only trained twice with the team at this point, and obviously they'd had, as I said previously, months and months of preseason. The game didn't get off to a great start for us, as you can see from the score, but here we go, 22-13, I come on to serve. Here we go then, very first touch coming, playing abroad, and it's a net roller. Could be worse, at least it was in. Oh my word, he's touched it again. The man is on fire. We take the point though. Unfortunately, my third touch is not quite so good. A pretty uninspired serve off the back. Not great. Didn't quite have the super sub impact I was hoping for. Didn't manage to turn the set, so we go on to lose 25-17. I'm not sure I actually touched the ball again after the first 3 touches you saw a moment ago. So, into the second set. Unfortunately for my sake, I was back on the bench. However, we ended up having a much better performance, got off to a much better start this time around. So whilst you enjoy some highlights from this better performance, I can share some of the thoughts I had at the time. So not surprisingly, before the game, I was really nervous. Mainly this was, as I say, before the match, so on the way to the game, while we're having the team talk in the locker room and all these things. Because once we got out onto the court, as you can see, it's a really big arena. Seats, I don't know, maybe a few thousand people, not exactly fill it, but still. And it has a great sound system, and we were warming up, and then when the music came on, whilst everyone was just sort of running around stretching and stuff, that really fired me up, and I was like, okay, stop being nervous, we're here to play, like, it's go time. The good performance continued then in the second set, and we got a set point which we took, I suppose more accurately they gave us, at the first time of asking. So we go into the third. So this is weird, something I'm not used to. There's a 10-minute break after the second set. Feels a bit like half time when you play football. Very odd, never had anything like this before, but actually I quite like it. I think I'll miss it if other leagues don't have this setup. Okay, so this point is quite funny. This is well worth a watch. So we have a good reception, run the middle, they get a great touch in transition and get it up to the setting, out of system, gives the big ball to the outside, rolls over the block, and then this ball, I mean, you tell me, but I don't think that was up. They certainly didn't think it was up, and it was a pretty questionable volley over the net. Their coach is not happy. He takes the ball, boom, sends it into orbit. And so they get booked. I'm not sure if it's for what the coach did coming on the court or just for the arguing afterwards, but we get to see the cheese, which is lovely. And this goes on for about 3 minutes, I think, of arguing afterwards until we finally get to play. But thankfully for us, the point isn't overturned, so we get to keep it. You love to see it. So what was my first impression of playing at this level? Well, so firstly, I do go on to play a little bit more than I have done so far, so I do have an impression, but it was good. It was really, really good experience. Oh, I'm on court in a minute. I didn't even notice. Nice dig from me. Whoops. Anyway, so this guy, number 19, he's a very, very good player. Probably the best player in the league. He played at a good level abroad, I think in Germany. Maybe he was top scorer or something. I'm not sure if he made that. I think that's right. Anyway, he's a bit of a beast. So you see this. He comes and hits this serve like an absolute truck. So facing serves like that is such an amazing way to improve, not just because you learn to deal with really, really hard serves, but then also every other ball seems easier by comparison. Not to mention it's really fun, but it's also good mentally having that challenge then of being under extreme pressure. Okay, we have to break this guy's serve, like get out of this rotation. That's such a good skill to learn to develop as well. But it was really good to have my first taste at this level and not feel like I was out of my depth or that I couldn't keep up. I very much didn't feel like that was the case. I felt like this is an environment where I can play some good volleyball and really leave my mark. And then the biggest thing is that I really enjoyed it. It was really, really fun to be on court. Reflecting on my performance then, honestly, I feel like I did okay for the first innings, as far as the volleyball was concerned, especially. My passing was decent. I think mostly they were good passes. I think it was one overpass, but otherwise pretty good. Attacking was fine, 2 messy kills and no errors. Serving was okay, apart from that one bad one when I first came on. Otherwise, I served according to our tactics and there were decent serves. But I think the problem I have with how I played, looking back at it from a year and a half in the future, was my mental game, that I was really, really passive. I didn't take the game to the opposition. I was quite shy. I didn't let myself be vulnerable by opening up to make mistakes, by trying to play really aggressively, especially when you're coming on, when your team's down. You can't just come on and play percentages. That's not going to turn the game, unless obviously that's what you've been told to do. But that wasn't this case. I need to come on fire, bring the energy. I think I hid. I don't think I really made an impact on the vibe of the team. Like, I don't think my teammates, admittedly, they've only known me for a couple of days. I don't think they'd have been thinking, all right, now George is on court. This guy, he really wants to win. He's fired up. He's going to change things. He's going to make things happen. I don't think I gave the energy at all. I kind of just turned up and maybe was looking to not play badly. But that's not good enough. If you want to win games, you need to be looking to win the game, not just not lose it. I don't think that's what I did. Reflecting on the team's performance then, we took a set against a good team, and in the third and fourth sets, we're there or thereabouts. We're in the 20s, but I don't think we ever really looked like winning the game. The difficulty we had is this was a really, really new squad. So at the end of last season, I believe Uppsala were quite unlucky. They had a lot of people leaving who they weren't expecting to, whether it was through injuries or other things coming up. So the squad this season was about 50-50 new players and old players. So naturally, you'd expect the start of the season could be quite tough because you have a lot of teething problems. Almost all the players here, bar pre-season, haven't played together before. So this is only their second game. It's obviously my second game coming into this new squad. So that makes life quite difficult. And I think that showed a lot at the start of the season. So that was the first game done. Next week, I'd be starting work, have a full week of gym and training, and our first away game. All that and more in the next video.